this is Ilina and welcome to another LDRS creative card video. In this video, I'm using the new exclusive kit called Hey Friend that's sold only on scrapbook.com. This is a set of a stamp set, die set, and coordinating stencil. So the stamp set has 5 stamps, however the large flower stamp has 6 images. They're connected together as well as the die, so at once you can stamp 6 flowers, actually 4 flowers and 2 branches of leaves, and then there are 4 and die cut them all together, and then there are 4 sentiments. So I'm using A2 panel of white cardstock to stamp those, and I realized I have a little bit of free space and decided to stamp some sentiments to save for future use. I will not be using those today, I'll just save them for later. So what I'm doing here, I'm stamping the flowers and the sentiments using my stamp positioning tool, and I will stamp them on several panels. This time I did 6, and then we're gonna make 5 cards out of those, and you're gonna have images left for stamped and colored images or stenciled images left for future projects. So when I do mass producing the same way. I just stamped everything at once, or if I want different colors, instead of masking off my stencil, I will color those using, I'll do several times in several different colors, so I won't be masking anything off. I'll just do all the flowers in one color, then the second will be in a different color, and so on. So I really like the embossed look, so that's what I'm doing here. After I stamped all the panels, because the ink was still a little bit of wet, I stamped several times to have nice black coverage. So I added some clear embossing powder. What I'm doing now, I'm just heat setting it or melting it with my heat tool. Sorry, I apologize, my camera is focusing on the heat tool instead of the panels, but it's just melting off the embossing powder. Okay, so we have all the panels, I have 6 in total. And now let's move to the stenciling. The kit comes with 4 coloring stencils. Also they're etched, so you can line them up very easily. So this is the stencil A, and I will use few different colors. So I'm starting with banana pie. Next I'm using Peachy Keen. I'm using pink Tutu. And next I'll do Marina Madness. Okay, so let's, I decided to do one more since there were like 6 panels. I have 2 Peachy Keen and 2 Marina Madness. So now let's move to the second stencil, the stencil B. Since this stencil is etched, it's very easy to position it over the flowers and to know where those layers go. So first for the yellow, I'm using Dandelion. For the Peachy Keen, I'm using Tangerine Dream. For the second, that's darker orange than the Peachy Keen. So this is the second one. The first one, you notice the orange is a little bit darker. I did not clean my blending brush very well, so I had darker color left over from previous project. For the pink, I used Lipstick Jungle. And now I'm using Tropical Sea for the blues. Okay, now we have all the flowers done, so we're gonna move to the leaves, and I'll be using Prickly Pear Perfection for the lighter layer. So I'll do all the leaves and stems the same colors for all of my panels. So I will jump quickly here. I won't show you how to stencil every single panel because it's exactly the same. Just adding that green. Okay, next let's move to the second layer. And for this layer, I'm using olive branch. And again, I will repeat the same for all of my 6 panels. Okay, so now let's die cut them. So here is the die. It die cuts all of the flowers and leaves. I will secure it with low tack tape and run it through my die cutting machine. With the magic of YouTube, I have all the flowers and leaves done. So now let's move to assembling our cards. Kind of creating the design how I want those flowers to be positioned onto my panels. So I have here 5 panels that measure 4 by 5.25, and I have all the images that I stamped, stenciled, and die cut. So here you can see my decision making, how to position everything. So once I'm satisfied with the look, I leave the flowers in place. And then I will use some foam squares to adhere those down once I am done. You can either leave them in place like I am doing here, or you can also take a picture and then refer to your picture when you start adhering everything down. So I had space here, so I left those in place, and you will see I'll start adhering those down using thin foam squares. So here are my foam squares, and I will start from the middle flower. Well, it's only one flower in this card, and the other 2 are little foliage branches, and then I'll add those 2. And also I don't have very tiny foam squares, so what I do, I just cut those down with my scissors in half or even quarters, depending on which size you need or the size of your foam squares. Or you can also use foam tape and just cut it to the size you need. So I'll repeat the same process, adhering those down using my foam squares. I won't bore you with it. Here I'm just adding little tiny square on the bottom. Okay, so we're the last card here. I decided to do a bow. So once I adhered the images, I made a bow. Once I stamped the sentiment, I'll adhere it down. So now let's stamp the sentiment. Only this card has the sentiment on the side and in the middle. So I'm stamping that one first, and then I'll adhere the bow and set that aside to dry. The next 4 panels, I have the sentiment on the bottom and the middle, because these are more centered, that have more centered images. So I decided to do all the same. Then I'll repeat the same for the next 3 panels. You can see here I'm stamping a few times to have nice black coverage. Okay, we're all done here. So the next step is I decided to add some enamel dots from my stash. I have a bunch of them in my drawer here. So I just decided to add a little bit more interest using those. And I added for the small flowers, I added yellow enamel dots in the center. That was the first panel we did. Okay, what I'm doing here, I'm turning those over, and I will add foam tape on the back to add dimension once I adhere those to my card bases. So here I have a stash of colored cardstock that's cut down to 4.25 by 11. It's perfect for card bases, the folding card basics. So I just picked out colors that would coordinate with my panels, and what I'm doing here, I'm scoring them and folding them in half. So I'm doing those all at once instead of one by one. I find this one to be quicker It's kind of more of kind of mass producing line or factory line. So next what we'll do is we're gonna adhere them all at once or one by one. But all we do is adhering. Usually when I do foam tape, I use liquid adhesive. It gives me a little bit more wiggle room to make sure that that panel is nice and straight. So it kind of slides a little bit more. It doesn't adhere right away. And also it holds better through the mail. So this is the last one. And we are done. So here are the 5 cards we just created. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also click the bell button to get notified for every new video. Also visit our blog for more ideas and more inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye!